Hey friends, welcome back to another episode. Today we are diving into a topic that I think many of you will resonate with, especially if you've ever felt like you're the one keeping the peace in the room. We're talking about living and leading as an Enneagram Type 9, also known as the Adaptive Peacemaker. I'm coming back to the Enneagram and starting with Type 9 because that's me. If you remember from our previous series, 9 is one of the types in the gut triad. I mentioned that I thought I would land on one of the types in the heart triad, but the more I learn about Type 9 and the gut triad of the Enneagram, it makes complete sense to me now that every Enneagram inventory that I have taken thus far has me as an Enneagram Type 9. Now, before we dive into the heart of this, let's briefly revisit the Enneagram itself. Unlike any other personality framework, the Enneagram goes deeper than just telling you what you do. It shines a light on the why. It's not trying to box you in or change who you are. Instead, it helps reveal your core motivations, your strengths, and even those areas that might trip you up. It's really a holistic perspective that helps you grow both personally and professionally by illuminating patterns that help you understand what serves you well and what might be holding you back. And once you're aware of that, you can move toward a higher, more authentic expression of yourself. Welcome to the Grace-Filled Leader Podcast. Do you want better work-life balance? Do you get stuck in patterns of perfectionism and people-pleasing? Have you always been an overachiever but never really felt good enough, no matter how much outward success you achieve? Do you want more time for the things that matter most? Well, you are in the right place. Here on the Grace-Filled Leader Podcast, we focus on spirit-driven success and share the secrets to having better work-life balance as a busy woman in leadership. Here you will learn how to set boundaries like a boss, find peace of mind, and reclaim your time for the things that matter most. Hi, I'm Tanya, a wife, mom, leader, and certified Christian life coach. For most of my life, I tried to find worthiness through achievement. I spent decades people-pleasing and pouring myself into my work. I was looking for my value through the approval of others. This led me to feel burned out, empty, and exhausted. I had no time or energy for myself or my family. I realized that I was wasting time and energy looking for validation in all the wrong places. But my life changed when I finally surrendered and God showed me a different way. It is my mission to help you start living the abundant life God has for you. If you're ready to become fueled by grace and find freedom from people-pleasing, if you're ready to multiply your time and impact as a Christian woman in leadership, this podcast is for you. Roll up your sleeves, sister friends. It's time to get after it. Now, let's talk about the evolution of an Enneagram 9 and how they grow into the peacemakers we know ourselves to be. It's so funny because one of the first words that comes to mind always when someone asks me what I want most, words like peace, harmony, and serenity always come to mind first. That's always been the case even before I began to study the Enneagram. It is clearly no coincidence now as I better understand myself as an Enneagram Type 9. At their core, 9s have a deep longing for inner and outer peace. From a young age, we are often highly sensitive to the tension and the conflict around us. Maybe we've grown up in environments where conflict was constant, or perhaps we just feel or felt overwhelmed by the emotional intensity of other people. Because of this, many 9s begin to develop a survival strategy early on. And that strategy is the best way to stay safe, to feel valued, and to avoid being a burden is to keep the peace. This need for harmony isn't just about creating calm externally, it's also about soothing an internal restlessness. Nines long to feel that sense of peaceful belonging, like everything is okay and that they're connected with those around them. But here's where things get a little tricky. If peace is threatened, or if we as nines fear that we might be the source of tension, many nines will begin to adopt patterns of avoidance. Rather than risk the discomfort of conflict, a nine might downplay their own needs. They might avoid difficult conversations or become indecisive, all in an effort to keep things harmonious. They can fall into the habit of merging with the desires, opinions, or agendas of others because it feels easier than asserting their own. Over time, this pattern can become so ingrained that nines may lose touch with their own passions, opinions, or even their own sense of identity. They seek peace at all costs, but the cost is often their own voice. I can tell you that this 100% describes most of my life and my coping strategies. I always felt an inner anxiety, like I was walking on eggshells around everyone, never wanting to cause conflict and typically feeling like I needed to be the one to fix anything that felt like conflict or even potential conflict. Even if, and often when this meant disregarding my own needs or my own feelings. I've often apologized even when I might be the one most deserving an apology. Being heard and seen becomes far less important than maintaining or restoring peace. Tell me if this sounds familiar. Nines often use what's called narcotization, or the numbing out discomfort through food, television, or even routine tasks as a defense mechanism. I've got a hand, at least one, in the air right now because I definitely have found myself in that boat. Now, let's talk about how some of this plays out in leadership. In leadership roles, the tendencies of a type 9 can lead to a reluctance to step into the spotlight or make tough decisions. Conflict feels like a threat to their core desire for peace, so they might shy away from it altogether. It's important to understand that these patterns are rooted in a deep desire to maintain stability and connection with others. But they can also hold back a 9 from stepping fully into their own power as a leader. However, with awareness, which often comes in studying the Enneagram, can come growth. I've experienced this myself. As a 9 begins to recognize these patterns, they can start to embrace conflict as a necessary part of life and leadership. Understanding that true peace doesn't mean avoiding discomfort, but rather working through it to achieve something deeper and more authentic. If you're a 9, you have a gift for seeing all sides of a situation. You naturally tune into harmony and balance, and that makes you a calming presence. People often feel safe around you because they know you aren't looking to stir up conflict. You are a stabilizer, someone who can diffuse tension and make everyone feel heard. In leadership, that makes you an incredibly adaptive leader. You're not rigid or fixed in your approach. You're open to ideas, to feedback, and to collaboration. Your superpower as a 9 is your ability to create environments where people feel at peace. And in a world where things often feel very chaotic, that is no small thing. So take credit, my friends. However, like with any strength, there is a flip side. This same desire for peace and avoiding conflict can sometimes lead to what I call the shadow side of a type 9. You might find yourself going along to get along, avoiding the hard conversations that leadership often requires. In trying to keep the peace, you may hesitate to assert yourself, which can lead to decisions being delayed or even worse, not made at all. Another potential blind spot for 9s is the tendency to merge with others' opinions or desires, which can cause you to lose sight of your own needs, your own values, or even your own vision as a leader. It is so easy to get focused on creating harmony that you forget your voice in the process. And let's be honest, sometimes true leadership means making tough calls that aren't popular, but they are necessary. So let's talk about how do you lead well as an Enneagram 9? Well, first, recognize that peace doesn't always mean the absence of conflict. Sometimes it means navigating through conflict to get to a more meaningful resolution. Lean into your ability to listen, but also practice speaking up. Remember, your perspective is valuable. It is okay to be the voice that steers the ship rather than always being the one that smooths the waters. Second, be intentional about making decisions. As a 9, you may struggle with indecisiveness because you're trying to consider everyone's feelings. But in leadership, making clear decisions, even if they're difficult, builds trust with your team. They know where you stand, and that gives them confidence, even when the decision is sometimes difficult for them. And finally, surround yourself with people who will help you stay grounded. Since 9s can sometimes struggle with inertia or feeling disconnected from their own desires, having a trusted circle who can help you stay focused on what you want as a leader will be key. So for my 9s out there, know that your ability to create peace and harmony is a rare gift, especially in leadership. Your challenge is to balance that strength with the courage to face conflict when necessary, and to lead with both grace and assertiveness. You were made to bring balance and stability into the lives of others, but don't forget to bring it into your own life and leadership too. So just to sum up this episode and offer some tactical tips, here are some practical takeaways for you, my fellow Enneagram 9 leaders, or even for those who aren't 9s, to help you better understand the 9s around you. First of all, recognize that peace and conflict can coexist. Embrace conflict as an opportunity for growth, not as something to fear or avoid. True peace often follows honest and sometimes difficult conversations. Number 2, stay connected to your own voice. It's easy for a 9 to merge with others' opinions or agendas. Be sure to make space for your own desires and ideas. Remember that they matter too. Number 3, practice making decisions promptly. Lean into decisive action. While you may feel like you need to consider every single angle, don't let indecision hold you back from leading your team effectively. And finally, number 4, find a balance between harmony and assertiveness. Peace is a gift, but strong leadership also requires knowing when to speak up, even if it feels uncomfortable. As you reflect on these takeaways, ask yourself, where can you start stepping more into your leadership role? How can you be both a peacemaker and an assertive leader? I would love to hear your thoughts or your stories about leading as an Enneagram 9. So let's continue the conversation. You can do that in the private Facebook community. You can send me an email or a voicemail if you go to gracefilledleader.com/contact. You can find the free private Facebook group if you go to gracefilledleader.com/community. And all of these things are in the show notes also. So as we wrap up, as always, my friends, I pray that the Lord fills you with gratitude, peace, and His amazing grace. I pray this episode blessed you, spoke to you, or encouraged you in some way. If so, please share it with a friend and head on over to Apple Podcasts to leave me a review. That's the only way for me to know if you're enjoying the show. Nothing blesses me more than to hear from you. Also, come on over to our free Facebook community. This is a great place for us to support one another on our faith and leadership journeys. You can find the link to the group in the show notes or go to gracefilledleader.com/community. If you have questions or content ideas for the show, please send me a message on SpeakPipe or via email. Go to gracefilledleader.com/contact and leave a written or voice recorded message. I would love to know how I can best serve you on the podcast. Now to Him who can do immeasurably more than we can ask or imagine, according to His power that is at work within us. Ephesians 3, verse 20. Until next time, my friends, God bless.